In this video, we're going to start addressing how we go about texturing a character. And again, there's different methodologies or work processes for this. But the one that I'm going to be explaining how to create is basically how you go about unwrapping only half of your character, and then texturing half of your character. And then once that process is finished, how you go about mirroring your character so you have a symmetrical character that has symmetrical texture. And again, this workflow is not going to kind of work for people who let's say have details on one side of the face that doesn't have for the other one. This workflow is not going to work for things that you would take into programs like Modbox for projection type texturing. And again, I'm going to be covering a little bit of that on how you go about that. So let's begin the unwrapping process of half of our body here. And again, I'm probably gonna want to isolate this. And again, you can see that this body is just a little bit different. I probably went in here and pushed in my body, or at least the area, the geometry on the leg in a little bit, so they wouldn't so my pants wouldn't be too thick. And again, one of the reasons for this is because I know what the end point for my character is going to be. It's going to be mostly a character that's going to have clothes on, and it's going to be for a walk cycle. I don't need to see what's going on inside the body, I mean in this areas right here. So I'm not too concerned about what's going on here as long as it has the right geometry workflow, geometry flow for the animation process. To get to the UV texture editor, which is what you're going to be using to unwrap, select your model, go to Window, and then click on UV texture editor. Alright, and again, one of the first things you're going to see is that basically your model is a little bit of a mess right now. And again, even more so if you're using the smoothing preview, so you probably want to stick to this for now. There's a couple things a couple ways that you can go about this, and they all involve the use of UV mapping. And again, this is basically a way that you're telling pretty much Maya how you want Maya to interpret the geometry in I guess in a 2D surface. So again, we have different type of UV mappings that you can use, such as planar, cylindrical, spherical, and stuff like that. I'm going to stick to using the automatic mapping. Alright, and again, the reason for that is because it's going to make it a little bit less painful for me to get through this process. So again, I'm going to select my mesh right here, and I'm going to go into automatic mapping. You can look at the options here. I usually leave this as default with the six planes. This basically means that it's going to have kind of 6 different planes around a character, and that's what's going to be using as the basis to how it wants to kind of unwrap my mesh. So again, I'm just going to select my mesh and just click on the automatic mapping, and again, it's going to basically take our character and it's going to break it apart into pieces. Alright. Unfortunately, again, it's not perfect, but it's a nice start for different areas such as the body and the head and stuff like that. If you find it easier to use different type of UV projections for your geometry, again, it's just a matter of kind of selecting that geometry and adding that type of projection. For instance, some people like to use something like cylindrical for things like the head and the arms and the torso and stuff like that. Alright. and again, it's going to give you a bunch of different results. I'd rather stick to the automatic mapping and then go in here and kind of start attaching the different UVs to what I need them to be. So again, once you have something like this, then the idea is kind of go in here and start kind of combining things. And again, we're seeing that we have our face here, alright, and we have it next to our foot. That's probably part of our foot here, and our body's here. This is probably the side of the head, and just kind of random pieces that you have here and there for our ear and stuff like that. So I'm going to start kind of separating some of these pieces just to kind of make them easier to work with. So you're not going to, when you're here, you can't be on your vertex mode and be able to move anything. You have to be in your UV mode, which is this green one. And then to select, let's say, all this piece of geometry that we have here, or this UV, again, rather than going through the process of having to select everything and then deselect what I selected by accident, I'm going to select just part of the UV vertex that I have here, and then go into select and select shell. That's going to select all of the UVs for that piece, and then I can just go into my move tool and kind of move them somewhere else. Another way that you can reach that select shell is by selecting some UVs here, holding control, and then right clicking to shell. Alright. So again, I'm going to start kind of bringing in some of these pieces right here that make up our face. So again, I'm going to select, I know that this is the side of the face right here, so I'm just going to select part of those UV vertex, hold control, and then go to shell. So it's going to select everything. Alright. And again, we can kind of start identifying some of the pieces that are going to make up our face here, but it's kind of hard to tell by the way that the automatic mapping kind of separates everything. So I'm just going to start with these pieces and then kind of start bringing some stuff in as I kind of come across it. So another thing that I want to do is perhaps start separating some of this stuff. For instance, you can see that we have some of the geometry here that's supposed to be part of the ear, but it's only part of it. And if I go here into my model and I select the UVs, notice that the ear is kind of scattered kind of all over the place. So we need to kind of start attaching some of that stuff. So one of the things that I want to do is, again, just kind of detach this so I can kind of work on the ear individually, and then kind of bring it and attach it back to the body, or keep it separate if it makes it easier for my texturing process. If you want to detach or create a seam line for, let's say, the ear here, I'm just going to go ahead and select these edges right here. And again, that's just gonna make it easier for me to select this. Alright, and again, we can kind of see here in the model what I'm selecting, which is basically all the edges that surround my ear right here. Alright, and again, selecting geometry the way we select geometry in our viewport is not going to have much of an effect here. So you need to be able to, if it makes it easier to select things in either edge or vertex or face mode, in order to affect them, you still need to kind of convert them into UVs to be able to work with them. So again, one of the things that I want to do here is create another kind of seam here and kind of detach this earpiece that I have right here. So I selected the edges. Then I want to go into select, and I want to convert this to UVs. Alright, so now I have UVs, the UVs for the area that I want to detach or create a seam kind of selected. Then I want to go into separate the UVs along selected edges, which is this symbol right here with the scissor. and just click on it. Alright, and again, notice that it kind of created a cut here, or at least it made a change. So if I go into UVs, alright, and then let's select to shell. Again, notice that it kind of selected this piece as a whole, but this is still separate. And again, it just kind of means that even though this is one piece, that means these UVs are not kind of welded together. Or it could have been caused by the separating UVs kind of process. So I'm actually going to go in here again. I'm going to select these UVs right here. Control, go to shell, and just kind of select all these. Alright, and again, I was able to remove them because I used this tool. If I go in here and I try to do anything like that with other geometry, it's just going to drag along other pieces of mesh. Alright, so we just created a scene for the ear here. Now I want to start bringing together, or bringing into one place, all the pieces of my ear, and maybe start kind of attaching some of these pieces here on the face. Let's just kind of focus on the face for now. And again, notice that when I select an edge here, it selects the ones that it's supposed to kind of be welded to. Alright, so one of the things that you can do, just to kind of make the process of welding a little bit easier for you, especially when you have things that you know are supposed to match kind of perfectly like this. And again, notice that all the edges here are just, they have their counterpart right there and there. Once you have these selected, you can use this tool right here, and again, I don't know what the name of it is, the move and saw the selected edges. So just by clicking on this, it's going to take all these edges and kind of put them where they're supposed to belong, like this. Alright, so again, that's not a very difficult process. It's just a matter of selecting those edges, and it's going to bring that geometry to where it's supposed to go. And again, they don't really have to be next to each other. I can select edges for right here at the bottom of my chin, which are somewhere here. Again, I don't know where they are, and I can click that same tool, and it's going to bring that geometry to my face. And again, one of the problems is that it's going to bring maybe some pieces that I don't need at the moment, or maybe not. Again, just kind of brought those pieces here and weld them to the right place. And again, if I select these two and then I click my movement and saw the selected edges, it's just going to start combining some of this stuff. And again, I can see that, for instance, in this piece, if I select this one, it's going to have a kind of floating face here. So I know it's supposed to fit here. I can just click on that and it's going to weld them together. One of the things that you need to keep in mind about using the separate the UVs along the UVs here is that in some cases it's going to actually cut your UVs and kind of separate them. So again, notice that even though they're close to each other, they're not sewn. So again, you can use the same tool to actually go in here and kind of fix some of those problems, because they're probably all along this edge where I used this tool to separate the pieces of the ear that I had. So I can go in here and select all these and just click on this one, and it's going to sew everything together. So again, I'm going to start kind of gathering some of the different pieces that I have going on here. Same thing for my ear here. Again, I don't want to select, I know this edge is going to, if I click on this and I use my move and saw the selected edges tool, it's going to take this and kind of bring it back to where it was before. What I want to do is bring all the other pieces of geometry that make up my ear and kind of bring them into and combine them into this area. So I'm going to pretty much select everything else but this edge right here to try and bring those pieces into here. Alright, and again, notice that some of the, like this piece right here is going to sew right to this. and if I click on this, it's going to bring all the different pieces that were kind of scattered along here. And again, by selecting the edges on this, we can pretty much get an idea of, or where we're selecting this from. Alright, and I can select all these edges, and I still click this tool one more time. It's going to keep bringing geometry that's supposed to be part of the ear. Okay, but you're getting again a little bit of a mess here. Not necessarily what we want to have for a final unwrapping process, but again, we're in the process of just kind of bringing this geometry all together, because again, the automatic mapping just kind of did a little bit of a number on it. So I'm selecting edges and faces and vertices, as long as I'm not selecting the areas where the seam are, because otherwise it's going to weld it back to this. And again, I wanna kind of work on this and kind of relax it and make sure that it's unwrapped piece before I combine it with the head. So I'm just going to keep bringing pieces in. Alright. And if this gets a little confusing, again, because definitely here we have some problems where our geometry is kind of on top of each other. Let's see. We can go into image and select shade UVs, so we get an idea of what's going on here. And again, some of these darker areas means that polygons are kind of on top of each other, so we don't want to have this. All right. So I'm just going to come here and I can select some of these UVs right here in the middle and kind of keep bringing some of this geometry in right here. Alright, when you see this red, means that the normal is kind of inverted. Alright, and again, you don't want to have that either. But I'm just going to keep kind of bringing this geometry in here. Alright, and again, trying to not select anything that's supposed to be along this edge. But again, we have a little bit of a mess here. One of the things that I can do to try and solve this is use my either unfold selected UVs or this is the relax right here. So I just I can click on that and it can kind of fix some of that stuff. Alright, and again, we're getting something that's a little bit better, but we can see that there are still holes and things that need to be filled. So I can go in here and select those areas, and I can move and sew those selected edges. Alright, and again, every time we get this kind of little bit of a mess, we can just go in here and start relaxing this stuff. Alright, again, I'm selecting UVs, kind of bringing stuff in, sewing stuff together. So this tool, the move and sew the selected edges and separate UVs, is going to be something that you're going to be using a lot for this process. And then of course the relaxing. Alright, and again, you want to have a piece of mesh that doesn't have any that dark shaded blue or any kind of red, because then again that means that it's kind of the UVs are, you have geometry on top of geometry, or you have inverted UVs. And again, this right here means that if I select this edge, it's supposed to be kind of combined with some of these areas. Alright, and again, as long as it's not part of this, I can go in here and kind of fix this. And I'm just going to go in here. Okay, and again, notice that when I select something that's kind of supposed to be part of the seam over here is going to automatically glue it to that. So we want to make sure we're not selecting those edges. It seems like I'm still are here. Alright, and again, it's gonna as long as I have the right edges selected, it's just gonna keep bringing geometry in that's supposed to be together. Alright, and let's say for instance I can kind of weld these two. These are supposed to be together, and again I'm starting to see get a little bit of kind of inverted normal there, but that's fine because I can just relax that when I'm done here. Okay, so I'm almost done with this piece. Alright, and now that I have something like this, again I can come in here and relax this. Again, I have to be in UV mode for some of these to kind of work correctly. Alright, and let's sew this together. These are together. This is supposed to be on top of that one, and again that's gonna do something weird there where we can just go in here and relax it. Okay, and again, keep notice that we're still kind of bringing some of this geometry in, not all of it. Not all the pieces for our ear are there, but it's just a matter of selecting these edges and kind of reeling that stuff in by using the move and saw the selected edges. All right. Again, I'm really close to finishing this area here. I'm pretty sure this is all that the ear, and again it takes the ear and just kind of unwraps the whole thing. I'm just going to go ahead and relax it. Alright, and now I have this, and I can actually bring it as part of my ear over here. And again, I want to go in here and make sure that these are welded. Alright, and again, notice that I still have some pieces here that are not part of this, but I can always just select these edges here and bring it in. Alright, and I can select these vertex and just kind of relax that a little bit. Alright, so now the UV for our head has an unwrapped ear that's attached to it, and again we had to go through the whole process of just kind of bringing the pieces together because this is what the automatic unwrapping does. And again, you're welcome to use any other type of projection if it makes it easier. This is just kind of the process that I'm used to. And again, we have really pieces here that are going to be kind of separated, and we can always kind of select these edges and kind of start bringing some of that geometry in by using this tool right here. Alright, and again, notice that this is kind of the rest of the piece of the nose here. So could probably just go in here and select all of these edges right here. And let's say this one. Alright, and again it kind of fixes some of that, but it also kind of distorts it. So again, you kind of have to be careful what you bring in. I'm just gonna move on to a later file. Let's move on to, let's say, this one. Let's just see what we got going on here on the UV texture editor. Okay, and again, one of the things that you're going to notice on this one is that I believe this is not my final layout, but there's a couple of things going on here. I was able to kind of bring in the rest of the geometry of my nose and my the mouth here. Okay, and again, I was using my move and sew tool for that, and then I was using the unfold and the relax to be able to kind of spread my my geometry here. I combined kind of this is supposed to be my arm, so this is the front and this is the palm, the rest of the arm. This is the front of the body, and then the side, and then the back. And again, it just kind of really depends on what makes it easier for you. I believe this is not the way that I have my final layout. It's probably a test that I did. If it makes it easier for you to have this along as a straight line rather than doing this for the texturing process, you know, that's something that you can do. And a way that you can go about doing something like that is by selecting these UVs along here. Alright, just going to go ahead and select these, and I'm going to be using this alignment tools here to be able to do that. So I can just select this one, kind of all brings them all into a line here like that, and then I can just kind of move them like this. And again, it just kind of all depends on what's most comfortable for you to work with. And again, I'm pretty sure this is not the final layout that I ended up using. For this, again, you want to make sure that the things that require the most detail are the things that utilize the most space. Okay, so if I know that the head and, let's say, my hand are the two things that are going to be showing out of this body, I probably don't want to take a lot of space for things that are not going to be seen, such as the foot and the body. Another thing to keep in mind here, again, one of the things that I ended up doing for the inside of the eye, the inside of the nose, and the inside of the mouth, and again, we're going to look at the geometry that I have going on here. Again, it was kind of extruded in to create a cavity of the mouth. So here's where we're going to be able to put teeth and things like that if we need to have that for our character. I also create a cavity for the eye right here. It makes sense for you to go in here and detach, not detach from the model, but detach the UVs from the mouth here, and the eyes and the nose, so it's not part of the unwrapped version of your face right here. Alright, and again, the way that you do that is by selecting the edges. Alright, right here. So let's say this is where I want to create a scene for my character, and again, notice that it's selected these edges right here too. And let's say this is the inside of the mouth right here. So again, I don't want to have this geometry attached to the mouth here, so you select the edges, and then you go to the separate the UVs along the selected edge tool. Alright, you click on that, and then automatically this edge, it creates a seam, so this geometry is no longer part of what's going on here. So then you can go in here, select the shell, and just kind of move to another area. So that's what I ended up doing for the inside of the mouth, the inside of the nose, and the inside of the eyes. So just keep in mind that that's something that you gotta do. So let me move along to a further file. Okay, I don't have many examples here of the unwrapping, so let me just do this. Okay, and again, this looks like what the final version of my unwrapping process is going to be. So I have the head here, the arm here. I probably shouldn't have taken as much space with my body. Again, it just kind of really depends what the end point of your character is going to be. Probably could have taken some of the space for the arm, so I could add more detail to this. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that these right here are my eyelashes. Alright, and again, that's something that was actually modeled onto the character. So if I do smoothing, you can actually see that we can see pieces of mesh along the eyes right here as the eyelashes. How this is going to work, again, is that they're unwrapped here, because when I want to create the eyelashes, what I'm going to do is basically create an opacity map so I can actually create the eyelashes right on the model. Alright, and again, I'll demonstrate that in the future. But for right now, just know that eyelashes is something that you probably want to have model on the character rather than texture on, and that's probably something you don't want to really simulate. Once you have something like this, alright, then the idea with this UV layout is that you're gonna go into polygons, and then you're gonna use the UV snapshot to actually take this into some sort of I guess painting program. In this case, going to be Photoshop. Okay, so you take the snapshot, and again, the file name, that's usually where you want it to save to. This is the size. For mine, I'm using 1024 by 1024. You can definitely go higher or lower. Again, it just kind of really depends on what the purpose of the character is going to be. And then again, press OK, and it's going to save a UVW map for you on that specific destination. And then you're going to bring in the UVW map into, again, something like Photoshop. It's going to start with something like this. Alright, and again, you don't really see much here, so I usually just like to add some sort of color background, white or whatever. So this basically represents the geometry that the way that we laid it out in Maya. So it's just a matter of kind of going in here and painting in our textures for our character. Now, the thing about trying to create digital humans is that rather than painting the textures in, we're going to be using whatever reference we can gather on our character to be able to use actual real picture texture or reference to be able to create our textures. So, and again, this is just an example of what I ended up doing. And this is basically, I used the same image that I used as reference for modeling the face. It's what I'm using to create this texture. Alright, and again, I added some of the details here for the hands. I'm gonna go ahead and open up not this one. Right, and again, you go into kind of like a layer process of just adding details and color to your model. All right, and again, you're using actual photo reference that you can find of your character. The ideal situation for something like this is that this is somebody that you have access to and that you can actually photograph to be able to take as much detail as possible. Unfortunately, for someone like this guy, he's a celebrity. We don't really have access to him, so we can only base what we have for textures on what we can find online or something like that. So again, once you have this some sort of map that you can apply to your character, then you can apply it to I guess the final unwrapped version of your character. And let me just open that up. Okay. and as long as your UVs are kind of laid out correctly, it's basically is going to map out kind of properly. Again, we already kind of starting to see that it's kind of looking like the what we want this guy to look like. Although, you know, without the eyes and final textures and all different type of mapping that we need to do on this guy, still not going to look the part yet. But basically, all the textures that I applied in my Photoshop file, you know, are kind of matching what I have here in my UV layout. And again, if for some reason you see kind of stretches and stuff like that, you can still go in here and kind of move your UVs around. Let's see what else. And again, the inside of the mouth and the eye are kind of painted this color. Again, notice that I didn't really pay a lot of detail to what's going on the body or the feet or inside of the nose or inside of the eyes. I'm making sure that this guy, this kind of takes most of the space on my UV layout, so it has the most detail. You can also use this, and again, this is what our diffuse kind of texture is going to be. You can use this to create a bump mapping for it as well. Alright, so again, so you can kind of create some of that, some of those kind of details on the skin, stuff like that. So again, let me just open a further version of this file. Alright, it's going to take a little bit here to open. Alright, so and again, in this one you're starting to see that I've already kind of started mirroring the geometry and it's already fully textured. Now what ended up doing, and again I might have to go to a version before for this to kind of look properly, but what I wanted to show you is how the bump map is kind of translated into our character. And again, if you want to see the effects of your bump map on your character in the viewport, you want to make sure that you're looking at this through a viewport 2.0 or a high quality rendering. Your default quality render is not going to show this. But again, notice that if I select my UV, you're seeing everything in red. Alright? And the reason this is happening is because the mirror geometry on this, it's basically right underneath the geometry that we laid out for the first half of our character, and it's kind of flipped. So we're seeing red here because it's an inverted normal. Alright? Again, in this case, it's not a bad thing because what it's doing is that it's taking the geometry that it has here, it projected it kind of on top of what's going on here, and the normals are reversed, and that's why we have a mirrored texture on this side. Again, one of the things to keep in mind is that this is not going to work very well if what you're going to do for your texturing is some sort of projection technique, because when you have geometry like on top of geometry like this, software like Mudbox or ZBrush is not going to know what to do with it, because again, what usually happens is that before you take it into software like that, is that you need to make sure that this is unwrapped properly and you don't have geometry on top of geometry. So so again, something like this wouldn't work very well for that. And again, I have an example here of a guy that I kind of I brought in here, and it's kind of unwrapped, not necessarily in this method, like this. This guy, basically, I believe I just applied an automatic and just left it like, as that. But the way that projection mapping works, this is Modbox. And again, I'm just gonna go in here, and I already have what's called a stencil here. Alright, what we're basically doing here is that we're projecting this texture right onto our model. Alright, and again, the idea here is that you kind of have to make either the model kind of fit where it's supposed to go, or you can also move your stencil to make him fit. Again, so let's just assume that I wanted something like this, and again, the process for something like ZBrush will probably be a little bit different. We would use something like a projection brush here, and when I start painting on my character, it's going to start painting that texture on. Alright? Right on the character. But again, the difference between this model and this one is that the UVs are laid out and we don't have any sort of inverted kind of normal or no geometries on top of each other. It's basically all kind of spread out on a UV kind of layout. Now, the reason I'm doing it like this is because, again, for the purpose of this assignment, I don't need I'm not gonna take this guy into Modbox and add any detail, and the process a lot faster if all I have to do is work on one half of the character and then just kind of mirror it so the textures are already on the other side, rather than have to paint a full person. So let me go over the process of mirroring the body. Alright, so this takes care, this covers how you go about unwrapping and kind of texturing one half of your character. In the next video, I'm going to cover how to mirror your geometry.